Instead of letting your hardships and failures discourage or exhaust you, let them strengthen and inspire you. You're watching Jamaica Magazine, and I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. Welcome. We prepared a wonderful lineup just for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. On Get the Facts this week, we talk child protection, in particular, eliminating violence against children.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives, as well as other matters of national importance. I'm Vanessa Silvera. Today's discussion is about child protection, in particular, eliminating violence against children. For the next couple of minutes, I will be speaking with UN Special Representative of the Secretary General, that's the SRSG, on violence against children, Dr. Najat Mala Mjid, to get her perspective on the issue and the way forward. Welcome. It is a pleasure to have you on our program, Dr.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure for me to be here.
Many countries have adopted the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and the Convention on the Rights of the Child, but violence against children continues to undermine the successful implementation of these goals and the 2030 Agenda. Now, give us a synopsis based on available reports of what the situation is like for children globally and what exactly is needed if we are to create change and achieve these development goals.
Less than 7 years remain to achieve the Agenda 2030 and the 17 Sustainable Development Goal. And less than 7 years remain to keep the promise we made. Ending all forms of violence against children in all settings by 2030. To be very frank with you, many countries are lagging behind. And I'm not sure that we are going, if we continue like that, to really keep our promise because of, first, the socio-economic impact of the pandemic, the ongoing humanitarian crisis, conflicts, climate crisis, the global financial crisis, and the huge displacement of children worldwide due to conflict, due to widespread violence, due to climate crisis. And most importantly, the fact that all the policies, the commitments are really not effectively and duly translated in services that are accessible to all children without discrimination, leaving no one behind, as we promise in the Agenda 2030. So what is needed is to build on these lessons and to switch from this siloed approach and this initiative approach that are not sustainable to really build cross-sectoral child and gender-sensitive services, you know, when children can find directly and immediately access to protection, to justice, to health, to social protection, to, you know, to all these services they need in a very prompt way. And this is a big issue for the moment. The other thing is really due to fiscal constraint and to the budget, we are seeing that the investment in services for children and more widely social services are really currently facing missing or facing, you know, some constraints. And all the states and mainly the ministries of finance have to see that not as additional, you know, social expenses, but really as investment, you know, in economic growth, in human capital. Because just to let you know, that violence against children is costing, you know, 5% of the national GDP and 8% of global GDP. So it means that it makes economic sense
to end violence against children in all its forms. Now, Dr. Mjid, your visit in Jamaica is on the invitation of the government, and it aims to build on the strong political commitment and important strides already made by Jamaica to end violence against children. So, first, you mentioned the silos. How do we remove the barriers and stop working in silos?
You know, we have to see protection of children as a cross-cutting issue. It's not belonging to one minister, because what is really important to understand what we mean by protection. It's administrative protection, it's judicial protection, you know, it's really social protection. It means that all the key actors have a piece in protection. So it cannot be under only one minister. What is important is really to build, to really design what is a package of services needed for these children, and who is delivering what, and when it is delivered, and who is accountable on what. I think it's possible because some countries made it. And I think regarding Jamaica, because you are highlighting Jamaica, since I arrived, what I am seeing is really, you know, the big concern regarding the increase of crimes, the increase of violence against children, peer-to-peer violence. So if there is a concern, instead of being reactive, I think what is important, it has to become really a strong national priority. And here mobilizing all the key stakeholders around this issue and making them accountable, because it's a chain of services. I just want to provide you a quick example. You can have a strong response in school, but if in police or in justice is not going well, the protection is not efficient.
All right. We'll have to take a break. Very interesting our discussion here on protecting children and ensuring that their rights are promoted and protected. You are watching Get the Facts. Don't go anywhere.
As a nurse, my heart bleed for see the accident victims. Worse when blood and oxygen short. Ease the burden on our hospitals, no man. Please, me I beg you no. Drive safe on the road.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We're continuing our conversation with Dr. Najat. She is the UN Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children. The subject matter is child protection, in particular, eliminating violence against children. Now, Dr. Najat, you've been in the island, as I said before, for about 4 days. All right, so tell us, what are some of the programs you've witnessed, and what positive impacts have you seen that you'll be able to take away?
I think I just want to start by really highlighting the strong political commitment that I saw at political level, even at high level, but also strong commitment and involvement, you know, regarding, you know, the program I visit, those who are really heading the agencies to deliver services for children and family, for girls who are pregnant, for children with disabilities. I had also really, I witnessed the strong also commitment of all the other key actors like, you know, civil society and faith-based organization. You have wonderful programs regarding, you know, taking care of some pieces like parenting, like psychosocial support, like sheltering, like protecting, like, you know, fighting violence against children. I was attending the launch of all this campaign regarding violence inside school and within school. But I want to insist, the most key important take-up I want to really want to bring with me is a wonderful, you know, commitment and energy and of children and young people. And they were wonderful because even they are facing, you have a wonderful potential, very frankly, regarding they are committed, they are taking initiative. Despite all the challenges they are facing, they are doing and they are still trust in it. But in the same time, sorry, I need to insist on one point. What is important also, the siloed approach, the lack of coordination, the lack of, you know, always being reactive and not proactive was shared by all, you know. And I think this is important. And that currently they are trying to tackle it and to put it, you know, at a national level and to make sure that you have this chain of services in all places. I think this is very important. The other point I want to highlight, if you allow me, I think we have to be very careful regarding, you know, the culture, speaking about culture of violence. And I think no culture is deeply violent. To be this made me having concern when we are speaking about culture of violence. I think, we can change behavior.
Of course.
And no child, we cannot tell all children are good and all children are no bad. So we have to be very, very careful about dealing. Even when you have a peer-to-peer violence, we need to understand why we arrive at this stage. And I think need to listen to them and to assess, their, to take into account their assessment. Because and this is based on all the countries I visited and all my previous experiences, you have to be very careful when you have the hopelessness and the loss of sense of belonging to a community.
Yes.
This is a driver of violence. So you need to act quickly, faster, differently, for and with children on board.
You mentioned COVID-19 earlier. We've gone through 2 years of the global pandemic. What ought to be the focus of the interventions going forward? Can it be the same as we've done before in previous years prior to the pandemic?
No, I think we need to build on the lessons learned. First, come back to school, and the return to school have to take into account that you have a disruption of schooling during at least 2 years, almost 2 years. And all the impacts of this isolation on mental health, on learning, on many children were victims of domestic violence, witnessing also intimate partner violence.
Yes.
Online also, don't forget also all this exposure online. And all this isolation, and they had many, many mental health issues,
And we've seen it in the classrooms.
Yes, and many mental health issues. So coming back to school, and currently they return to school, hopefully, we need to take into account that these children were affected. So the teacher need to be really well staffed, well trained. As the school counselor need to be listened and need really to make sure that they can early detect signs, of distress, of thinking something is going wrong. And this, I think, it's really important. The early warning and listening of children. Listening to children is really, really important. And having, in the same time, I discussed with the Ministry of Education also, is really making sure that they have a kind of child and gender sensitive mechanism where they can report. And just to not forget, school is linked to communities.
It is.
And because of the socioeconomic impact, of the pandemic, you have many, many families who were already vulnerable that became more and more vulnerable. And vulnerability expose also children to violence and expose children to dropout and so on. And I think this is very important to take into account currently, the importance of investing in mental health and psychosocial support, social protection, parenting, really strengthening the capacities of all the front line, of workforce to make sure that they can early detect, they can react, they can provide the required support, in school, around school, and in the community. And the most important thing, allow me, is really to involve and to make children part of the solution and to make them on board.
Now, before we wrap, one last question. How important is legislation and public education? You mentioned training, and you really did stress training. How important is legislative change and public education to effecting this revolution that we need?
Legislation is important because it provides a framework, and it has to be in line with all the commitments made by states, because you are part of the Convention on Children's Rights, and I know that you are currently going to ratify the Hague Convention on Inter-Country Adoption to make sure also that you are regulating all the international adoption. So this is important to make sure if you need a legal framework. But what is most really end all forms of violence against children and to provide alternative and to make sure that all the rights of children are really promoted and their best interests are taken into account. But the most important thing is having the legal framework is wonderful, but implementing it and making these children having access to child and gender sensitive, that is prompt, that is rapid, that is protecting children, and really making the perpetrator accountable, this is important.
Now, your final words as we wrap. You've given a lot to think about. What are your final words taking us out?
for me, I have just one message for all these children who are listening. Despite, you know, the barriers, the challenges they face, never give up. Never give up, because you are the present, you are the future generation, and you are wonderful actors of change.
Thank you so very much. Wonderful words to close us out. This has been Get the Facts. Our guest was Dr. Najat Mahala Njid, the UN Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children, who has been on an official 4-day visit to Jamaica. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm Vanessa Silvera. Take good care.
The number of road fatalities is climbing daily, something we all want to see changed. You can do your part by not adding to that statistic. Obey the rules of the road, because the life you save might just be your very own. In this next feature, a call for action.
We have a disaster that is of real concern. A man-made disaster which is out of indiscipline, ignorance, and disregard for the rules of the country. We are paying a severe price for this level of indiscipline that has taken over our roads. We are losing lives, young men, and right around the country, we are seeing this increase in fatalities and accidents on our roads. And I believe that as a country, we need to recognize what is happening. There are a number of things that we can do. I heard a gentleman said that he was encouraging persons not to take a taxi that has more than the required amount of passengers. And he said that he was lambasted. People cuss him out. There are things that we can do by not supporting the indiscipline of some of our drivers. And some of the same passengers will say to the driver, where you do go around and a man, you know, say the man, they are going to leave you. And I believe this is something that as Jamaicans, we need to pay serious attention to. And it's not what the government is doing. Government alone can't do it. We need the support of every single Jamaican. When the new Road Traffic Act comes into effect, I'm hoping that I won't hear people saying that is only poor people the law was made for. Many who have died on our roads are not poor. Let us not get carried away. Let us not be overcome by the culture of earning $1. So a taxi man would drive on the wrong side of the road with a car full of passengers, including children, with no regards at all for the lives of those persons. In the same way in which we use social media and other forms of information to be critical and raise concerns about issues, let us start a campaign in this country about the carnage on our roads and what we as Jamaicans can do and is prepared to do.
There There's a lot more to Jamaica than just what meets the eye. I had always loved art. It was my first love. It set me free. I did some artwork for the Half Moon Hotel. And shortly after, 14 guests showed up at my gate thinking I had a gallery up here. And that gave me the idea that I need to have a gallery. And so the guests would come up, they see the garden, ask if they could go for a walk, but everybody came back saying we should make something of it. It was inspiring, they described it in many ways.
When they come here, we give each guest a welcome and a little history about the place before they take the tour. There's one word that they repeat over and over again. Love. They feel love in this place.
One guest we had in the early years was from Germany. And he said, you know, I spent 5 days on the beach looking up in these hills. I just wondered what was life like up there. And he found us. People who travel want to experience. And this is what we try to offer, an experience.
Every guest that leaves this place say it, I came here as a guest and I felt like family.
Yeah.
Come to Jamaica and be our family.
We all have a story to tell. Mine is just one of millions that are out there, and they're all good.
Have you ever gone rafting on the Martha Brae River? How about the picturesque nightlife experience of the glistening waters? In this next feature, we take you round the bend.
In Trelawney, there's a little of this and a little of that. So all you have to do is come discover and experience. Okay. Rafting on the Martha Brae River is part of the offerings here in Trelawney. So when next you're in the parish, come on down. Captain JK, take it away.
Yeah, man. No lele. We don't play. This is how we stay. Everything gotta be okay.
High five.
Blessed. Yeah, man.
So how long you have been doing this for?
I've been doing this over 2 decades now.
Oh, 20 years.
So I know this stuff quite well, you know?
Okay.
But actually we're on the rapids now, you know?
Wait, stop. We can't end this moment so soon. No, sir. Hold this frame for a little while till we go check out some other places and come back.
Welcome to Falmouth All-Age School, once the home of Fort Belcaris. This fort was built in 1811. It was built to protect the harbour and the town of Falmouth. Falmouth in those days was a boom town, boomy, it had a lot of money, and so persons would like to come in and plunder, so this was built. Soldiers were housed in the building at the back, and they were the ones who were manning the fort.
And this is where the armory was stored.
Now, in later years, the fort was used no more, and so in 1902, it became the Falmouth All-Age School.
Now check out this almond tree. It is said to have been around before or from the days of Fort Belcaris, which means it is well over 200 years.
This mill behind me here is a relic of the slave plantation and of the sugar production when sugar was king in the 18th century. It is part of a large estate called Holland Estate. The thing about it is, This property no longer belongs to a slave holder, no longer belongs to a sugar plantation, but is actually the site of William Knibb Memorial High School, named after the famous emancipator, William Knibb. It is quite ironic that in a place where slavery thrived and our forefathers suffered, now sits an institution of learning for the descendants of those very same slaves. Ironic, isn't it?
It's all about the nightlife here in Trelawney as well, where you can experience the colorful transformation of the glistening waters luminous lagoon. To capture this part of my tour, I had to start the night before.
We do nightly boat rides. You can come on down and see the flashes of light once the water is being disturbed. We are the only natural night attraction in Jamaica, and it is also known as the world's famous luminous lagoon.
We had a magical experience tonight. It was a great time. Highly recommend it. We'll definitely be back.
Nothing like it in the world. I've never seen anything like this. So awesome time.
Glistening waters to the world.
You see why you have to come to Trelawney? And if bargain is what you want, then Bend Down is the place to be. What go on, my friend? Alright, tell me, what's so popular about Bend Down?
Bend Down, everybody can come here, so can get cheap goods, cheap clothes, everything.
Oh, so how you get the name Bend Down?
People from all over Ireland, you know, just come here, so they just throw down their things anywhere and sell.
Oh, and people used to have to just bend down and
yeah,
pick
people
up the
just bend
stuff
down
and
and
things
take
there.
up anything.
Alright, so I'm here for some bargain, so maybe I should bend down and pick up mine. Bargain for real. $100, another 100, another 100, 300, and I'm going for more. Alright, thanks. Alright, thanks here.
I like my Paris Trelawney because the water is so cool, it's been cool and nice. And I like the environment is so clean and the new market is so amazing. That's why I love my Paris Trelawney. Big up Trelawney.
Here's more about this parish.
It's all about peace and tranquility, ambience and relaxation, you know? Yeah, man. Bless up.
After a long day exploring Trelawney, this is the perfect end. Just relaxing on the Martha Gray River. Until next time, when I catch you around the bend. Later.
That's all the time we have left today on this show. Do join us again tomorrow on this same station for another exciting installment of Jamaica Magazine. To rewatch today's offering or other content like this, visit our website, jis.gov.jm. From all of us here at the JIS, have yourself a wonderful Sunday. I'm Adrian Atkinson. See you next time.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.